Hi, today we're learning how to correctly deadhead our beautiful plants in the garden. I'm Joannie over at the Growing Place in Aurora. First thing we're going to do is the hemerocallis, which of course is our daylily. Many of them are in full bloom right now. A mature daylily can give you up to 7 weeks of color. Primarily when the stalk is finished flowering, I go all the way down to the bottom, and I snip it off. This type will give you, as a mature plant, 7 weeks of color. And by the way, they're all fragrant. Something that you're all familiar with is the Stella d'Oro. This is probably our #1 seller. It is a repeat bloomer. We have many repeat blooming daylilies. They too are fragrant. When these stems finish, I absolutely remove the full stem. What does this do for the plant? It actually encourages root growth, more leaves, and it will flower 2 more times in the season if you do this, if you remove these full stems. So that is with our daylilies. This is the short repeat blooming one. Any of the daylilies that have the word repeat in it will do this. Next, quickly, we're going to do the Stackies. This is Stackies, the Summer Crush, but it's all the same for all of the Stackies. So they're in full bloom. You can see by the shape of the flowers, so wonderful butterfly and hummingbird flower, but I'm looking for more root growth when it gets in the garden. I'm looking for more foliage. It won't be until next year that you see a full flush of green and flowers coming up again. But again, these flowers are nearly finished. I'm going all the way down to the bottom, and I'm removing the flower stalk completely. Even in this pot, you're going to get a whole new set of leaves this year. But in the garden next year, there's a chance you could get more flowers. But nevertheless, by encouraging the deadheading, the full deadheading of these stems, you're going to get a better root, which will provide a bigger plant next year. Next, I want to do the Trades cantia. Maybe you know this as Spiderwort. Looking pretty grim. Remembering this is an earlier flower for the season, and they're now a little bit sad. But this plant, I'm going to cut all the way back, just like this, all the way. This plant loves water. There's a weed in here. We'll get that out. You cut it all the way back. This is going to go back on our table. These love water, and this will produce yet this season in this pot more beautiful foliage. It may not bloom a second time. It might in your own garden with its second year. But this is how severely I will cut this back to produce more roots and get more foliage. Next, we better talk about roses. All of the roses except for rugosa rose can be deadheaded. We don't deadhead the rugosa roses because they develop beautiful rose hips and they turn orange and red in the fall. They have a more corrugated leaf and they can be fragrant, but we are not deadheading those. So here I have a rose that's finished, and here at the Growing Place we try to take it down to the first 5-leaf stem. That's where we cut it, just like that. Just like that. I know some people think that you cut it right here at the base of the flower, but no, we're not doing that. We're going all the way down to, not the 3 leaves, but the 5-leaf stem all the way down here. That is where I'm trimming it. And why is that? Because I'm looking to have a strong enough stem to grow more flowers. I want more flowers, and these knockout roses will produce flowers well into the month of November here in Chicago. Even this young plant will do that, but they have to be deadheaded correctly. So again, we are not just cutting off the flower, we're removing the stem down to the first 5-leaf branch, and we'll do that on this whole thing. By now we could still be fertilizing this, by the way. However, after August 1st, we suggest you stop your rose fertilizer. We want it to begin to rest. And again, we are not deadheading the rugosa roses. The other thing I quickly want to show you is a couple of fun plants. Everybody knows yarrow. We know it here as achillea. So this is a beautiful plant. This one happens to be new vintage wine. It's a newer color for us. We love it. This plant also, when it finishes flowering, you can very quickly just whack the whole thing back. You don't have to take the time to do each stem. And you will get new roots, you will get new foliage. However, it will not be until next year. Oh, well, hello, Mrs. Monarch. Next year, it's a whole different thing with both the yarrow and some of these coreopsis. And by removing, in their second year, the entire top plant, they will get more roots, more foliage, and these plants in your garden next year will have a whole nother show of flowers. There are other plants that will do the same thing, but just by removing them. So again, we're not cutting off the flowers. Who has time for that? You know, when this finishes, we're gonna remove the whole top 2/3 of it. And it will flush out again, assuming you are watering. And again, with the yarrow, you can do the same thing. You can cut off the flowers when they're finished, but again, in their second year, they actually can produce more flowers. All of the achilles can do that. If you have questions about deadheading, we really want you to have success in your garden. We want you to understand how to have healthy plants, how to care for them, how to fertilize, how to cut them back. You're always very welcome to call either the Naperville store or the Aurora store, and we're very happy to answer your questions.